Can of Boyd's coffee. Boyd and I love that kind of stuff and laugh about it all the time. Yeah. I think hot, steaming coffee was one of my favorite lines that Boyd had in his music, and I remember talking with him about that. He said, one of my goals about my music is to make people feel something. I think it worked. And I don't even like coffee. Boyd was born June 10th, 1960 in Eugene, Springfield, Oregon, to Dick and Shirley Small. That was one of my many coincidences with Boyd, as my middle name is Eugene. He has a brother, Brian, and a sister, Tracy. I met Boyd in the 6th grade when he moved to Salem. He was the new kid in school. I remember walking to his house, knocking on the door. And the minute I knocked on the door, I forgot his name. So I knocked, and his mom answered really quickly. So I said, is your son home? And she said, you must mean Boyd. And she smiled and let me in. And that's how I met Boyd. I remember him showing me his drums. I could tell he was quite proud of them. Of course, he played them a bit for me. But I have to admit, I was more interested in the little motorbike that he had. From that day on, Boyd and I spent 51 years together as friends. I used to think that was a long time till the day he passed away, when I realized it wasn't long enough. We shared so many experiences, but one thing always remained the same. Boyd loved his family, his friends, and his music. Whenever we talked, he would always bring up Brian, Tracy, Dick, and Shirley, and I in turn would talk about my family. First time I ever heard Boyd sing, I went to his house. I think it was out at a baseball game, after a baseball game. And his mom let me in, and I could hear him singing. Kind of made me laugh, singing in the shower, and he was going. His mom said he likes to sing in the shower. And I said, well, obviously those shower sessions paid off. I'm going to segue from the chronological history of Boyd for a moment and bring up something I've been struggling with in writing this. I did a deep dive into the internet so I could share with you all the details about his musical career and talents. I listened to all his CDs that I have. I have read everything I could to honor him today, reached out to friends, did everything I could. I even used online translator because a lot of the things I found were in Dutch. And I couldn't read Dutch. I should be able to, but I don't. Some of the accolades he was listed for was drummer, best drummer, frontman, singer, percussionist, songwriter, composer, producer, mixer, audio production, primary artist, teacher, actor, voiceover, and my personal favorite, local hero. Wow. Some bands that he played in that were listed that I found were the Los Falcons, the Milkmen, the Terraplanes, J.T. Meyer, the Soldiers, Small and Strange, Boyd Small's Big Blues Band, 4+1, and the list goes on and on. On your tables, you will see a little write-up that I got from Randy Haynes, who I think got from Martin McCabe, who I think got from Boyd Small. He tells a story of his involvement with the blues. And I thought that would be a much better way to go than me telling you a story. And I do have extra copies if you're interested. So just wanted to make sure you had access to those. I first experienced Boyd's loyalty to our friendship when I was 14 and my father passed away. We had been friends for a few years, and I could tell he felt bad for me. I remember him inviting me to share things with him and his dad. They were things he was doing. They took me hunting, they showed me other things, and my dad never had the opportunity to do that. What I didn't realize at the time, but I think my dad's passing seemed to impact Boyd almost as much as it did me. We discussed our dads throughout our lifetime, and Dick was someone he always talked about. Ellie began this get-together at 4:20. I think the cat's out of the bag that Boyd liked to smoke weed every now and then. In fact, the first time I got high was with Boyd and some other friends. Some of you might be here. I wasn't going to name names, but if you want to... We used to smoke and go hang out at the cue ball, which was a pinball joint, pool joint here in Salem. A group of us had our first official police contact when we were returning from Little North Fork one day after swimming, when we were pulled over by a state trooper. We were charged with possession of marijuana. I see you smiling. We all had to go meet with someone from the juvenile department. That was a trip. Is it irony that I now work for the juvenile department? All confessed, Boyd and I smoked a lot of weed together. It was one of his favorite pastimes. And as I look around, I think I might see somebody who smokes some pot with him. During my younger years, my memories of Boyd will be him playing catcher for his Babe Ruth baseball team. I was a pitcher. That worked out well. I remember him having a three-wheeled bicycle that looked like a giant tricycle. We all thought that was totally ridiculous, but he really liked it. I can see him riding that bike just as fast as he can, turning corners as fast as he can in order to get on two wheels. I can see the smile on his face. I remember he played in a drum and bugle corps, the Argonauts, and he played in the country band at the Eagles Lodge on Saturday nights with his brother Brian. Boyd graduated Sprague High School. He then moved to Eugene and attended University of Oregon, majoring in percussion. Boyd and I lived with each other for the next 3 years when I was also attending U of O. First at the Shack. Some of you people know that. Literally a one-bedroom shack. Winning the bedroom was the main space. And then at the Happy Head Inn, which was right behind Hilliard Street Market. I see you. That house had 4 dudes living in it, me and 3 percussionists. Fond memories are playing hacky sack, tanning on the roof, floating down the McKenzie River, Memorial Day camping, playing Stratomatic. It could be, it might be. Sorry, inside joke. And of course, Puck, his little pit bull terrier mix. I'm sure we all remember.
What about burning down the kitchen?
He really liked his tofu. In between having fun, Boyd was always practicing or playing gigs. Schlepping those drums, as Boyd would say, all over the place. I and some of my friends would help him move those drums, and we always wish he had a lighter instrument to move. It was through Boyd that I met a lot of the friends I have. Can't tell you how many times I saw him. I do remember a couple things. His band was the first time I ever did the Alligator. And back in the day, if you live with a musician that plays in a bar, you can expect that maybe at any time after the bar closes, the bar might follow them home. I remember Boyd moving to Portland at some time. He was very involved in music. Of course, for me, we just liked hanging out. He would often call me to let me know where he was playing and ask me to come. Of course, I went when I could. But I'd always say, please put me on the guest list. And he always did. I believe it was during that time that he was winning awards from the Cascade Blues Society, the Muddy Waters Awards, for Best Drummer, and he was eventually inducted into their Hall of Fame. Boyd went to the Netherlands around 1997 when he was touring with Monty Oddmanson. This was another coincidence for us. As many of you know, I was born in Holland. Boyd met Anita in 1998, and they were married on April 1st, 1999. No fooling. And Lucas was born April 19th of 1999. Quick work, you guys. From that point on, almost every conversation I had, Boyd mentioned Lucas. Anita was working as a cast director. She was able to help Boyd land a job in one episode of a soap opera, and he did some voiceovers for a couple of commercials. It was during that time that also Boyd co-founded the recording studio Cool Buzz, which is where he released his first album, This Time No Lies. Boyd had a very rich history in music in Amsterdam, more than I can share in this time allotted. Of course, I got to see him play from time to time. It always cracked me up when he was introduced as all the way from the U.S. Our lives continued to intersect as my mom remarried and moved back to Holland. Unfortunately, over time, she became ill and later passed away. This presented the need for me to go to Holland a few times. And of course, who would pick me up at the airport? Boyd and Anita, I remember. Who would make sure I made it to my mom safely? Boyd would. Who would show me around Amsterdam when I had free time? And boy, was that fun. Boyd, Anita, and Lucas. It was during those times that I got to experience Boyd as a family man. I remember him loading Lucas onto the back of his bicycle and taking him to school. A very Dutch thing to do. I remember him telling me about a story when he took Lucas to school and he stayed to help with the classroom. The teacher asked him to not be using the word gonna. It was very improper English. His day was planned around the family, but he also made sure I was taken care of. After Boyd and Anita separated, they remained very close. One memorable moment was when Boyd and I was visiting in the States. A memorable moment was when Boyd was visiting in the States, and he invited me to go to Dick and Helen's house for a family get-together, I think somewhere in Washington. We left Portland with a lot of time to spare. We were going to be there on time, but we stopped for a beer about halfway there. It was a quiet little bar, probably 2 in the afternoon, with about 6 people in it. We had a couple beers and we were hanging out, and I saw a guitar over in the corner, kind of like that one there. I egged Boyd to see if he could play it. Didn't take much encouraging. And the bartender said, of course. Well, you know, Boyd, he started playing the guitar, and then he started singing. And the next thing you know, everyone was thrilled to have him there. He just seemed to be a people magnet, and everyone wanted to be a part of that. Probably why I went and introduced myself to him way back when in 6th grade. It was that day that I realized that I really experienced being part of Boyd's spotlight, and he didn't seem to mind sharing it with me. I do want to apologize to Dick and Helen. We were really late that day. That's on me. Ellie joined the family from the Netherlands in January of 2011. In 2013, Boyd returned to the U.S. with Ellie, playing in the Pacific Northwest, California, and would also return to the Netherlands for touring. They lived happily in Salem for the next several years. Of course, Boyd would call me up and tell me he was going to play, wanted me to come see him, and I'd say, put me on the guest list, and he always did. And of course, by this time, he was announced as all the way from Amsterdam. I go, really? Lucas would visit every Sunday, every summer, and Boyd would always let me know when he was coming in the hopes we could get together, and we often did. In 2014, Boyd proposed to Ellie at her surprise birthday party, and Boyd had actually planned and invited family and friends. Ellie told me that Boyd told her he planned it that way, hoping she would be more inclined to say yes. She also told me he didn't have to worry. Boyd was baptized July 24th, 2016 in Salem, Oregon at a church he was attending. He and Ellie moved to Roseburg in July of 2018. Boyd was diagnosed in May of 2019 with frontotemporal, which is a very rare form of dementia. I visit him in Roseburg as often as I could, as his condition progressed, Boyd seemed to grow calmer and calmer. He stopped drinking. He stopped swearing. He didn't stop smoking weed. He would always express his love for his family, Dick, Tracy, Lucas, Anita, and Ellie. I asked Ellie to share her thoughts with me, and this is what she told me, some thoughts with me. Boyd was a very sweet, loving person. He was always happy, full of love, and after his diagnosis, he was never in any pain. I can't thank Ellie enough for her tender care for Boyd over the last several years. It truly was an act of love, and I could see Boyd return that love. And Lucas coming to see him as often as he did meant the world to him. Boyd loved country drives, so the last 2 months while Lucas was here, they went on a lot of country drives and to the river together. On the morning of August 2nd, 2022, Boyd passed peacefully at home in his sleep with Lucas and Ellie next to him. As I think about Boyd's dash, some consistent things come to mind. He was always about family first. When we would talk, he talked about his family and friends. When it came to music, he would talk about who he was playing with and how he was getting back and forth to his gigs and all the stories that came with those travels. He would talk about the talented musicians who played around him. He would share his enjoyment of life, and of course, he would talk about Lucas. There's a saying, you can't take it with you. I don't think Boyd ever tried. He left it all here for us to enjoy. That was the Boyd I knew. I will add one more thing. Whenever we were done talking, I learned that Boyd was not a big fan of saying goodbye. He would always end with, love you. So I will end by saying, love you too, Boyd. A couple more announcements real quickly. I think there's going to be a video shown, and then there's going to be some food served, and then I believe there'll be some music playing, and in between the music, we will have a time for open mic for people to share stories if they are interested. Okay?
Thank you so much, Leon. Right now, we're going to invite everybody to get some food, get a couple drinks, and then Lucas and Henry will come on, have a song, and then we'll do the slideshow. We'll let you know. Thank you guys so much.